Hey guys, how you doing? My name is TJ, and in this video, I'm going to be telling you what programming languages to start with when you're trying to learn how to code. But real quick, make sure you hit that like button for me and subscribe if you haven't already. So I'm going to keep this video really short and straight to the point, but before that, we need to understand the difference between the front end and the back end when we're talking about web development. When it comes to web development, the front end refers to the UI or user interface, which is everything that you, the user, sees when you go to a website. Now, the back end is the server where all of the information or data that's used on the front end is stored. So information in terms of video data information, how many likes, how many comments, the actual comment body or text itself, all of that information is saved in a database on the back end. So the job of the back end is to retrieve data from the database for the front end to display to you, the user. Okay, so now that we have that quick breakdown of back end versus front end, we can now start talking about what programming languages to learn that are most relevant to the job market right now. Starting with the front end, it is undebatable that JavaScript is the only programming language that you need to learn for the front end. JavaScript is dubbed the language of the web because it is one of the core technologies of the web alongside HTML and CSS. So that means almost every website that you go to is using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to some degree. And what that means for you is that you need to learn HTML and CSS before you can really start to use JavaScript on the front end for web development. HTML is a markup language that is used to define the content that's actually on the web page, like a video, a paragraph text, a list, etc. Like you use HTML to define that content. And CSS is a style sheet language that is used to style the HTML content. So pretty much you use CSS to make things look nicer and to arrange them on the web page. JavaScript is used to make the web page interactive with pop-ups and alerts and all this other stuff that's happening on the page, drop-downs, etc. So for the front end, the only programming language you need to learn is JavaScript, but you should really learn HTML and CSS before you start working on JavaScript. Now for the back end, the two most popular programming languages in terms of job openings and etc. are JavaScript again and Python. You can't really go wrong with either one, JavaScript or Python, on the back end, but the main advantage of learning JavaScript is that you can use it on the front end and back end, meaning that you only need to learn one programming language. Well, that depends on who you work for. You get. Not all companies just use JavaScript on the whole stack, front end and back end. Almost all companies use JavaScript on the front end, and then when it comes to the job market, you see a mixture of programming languages that companies use on the back end. But the main advantage of learning Python for the back end that I like is that learning Python increases your career options because Python is heavily used in the finance industry, blockchain, machine learning, and just startups overall. I teach students in my coding program Python on the back end to give them access to more career options that are specific to Python that JavaScript just doesn't have. Now, keep in mind that when it comes to learning HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Python, that is just the beginning. There are quite a few more tools and technologies that you need to learn before you can start building production level websites and web applications. But as a beginner looking to learn to code, I really recommend that you start with HTML, then CSS, and then JavaScript. Now, if you want me to send you a quick HTML and CSS tutorial that'll teach you HTML and CSS basics and also help you launch your first website, comment down below Roots Technology and I'll share that tutorial with you. Now, if you're serious about learning to code and making a career switch to become a software engineer, you need a very detailed project-based coding curriculum that will teach you all the relevant tools and technologies that you need to know for the job, as well as a mentor that you can do one-on-one sessions with anytime that you get stuck or need help working on something. That's what I do for students in my Roots Technology Coding and Career Prep program. I teach them how to use JavaScript and Python to solve real-world problems and build production-level applications for their project portfolio. On top of that, I teach them how to effectively apply to jobs online to increase the chance of their application actually being seen by the hiring manager. So if you are interested in really making a career switch to become a software engineer, check out rootstechnology.info to sign up today, or just to schedule a quick call with me to talk about how I can help you on your coding journey.